is people are thinking in contrast to what? Data-driven versus not data-driven. And I guess in this regard, I kind of take a page from psychology. I start there, where you know, if you look at the way the brain functions and brain mapping and things like that, essentially when you map brain functions during the decision-making process, we see that essentially very few decisions are actually made on gut instinct, right? So there is something called brain-gut reaction and gut strong. It's actually an anatomical process of making decisions, and it is a thing, but very few of the decisions we make are actually that way. So in reality, you know, in our very nature, we are data-driven already. Our brain does recall when we make decisions, and so it's really just a question of not whether we're data-driven or not. We are data-driven, but what data went into making those decisions? What are the models that we have internally and individually that drive our decision-making process, our view of the world, our models? And that same process, I think, applies to corporations as well. As I'm talking to them, helping them understand that you are making decisions as a company. You are making decisions based on data already, but are you deliberate about what data goes into that? Where did it come from? Yep. What is the accuracy of that data? How frequently is it updated, and are we making decisions as a company based on outdated models or not? And so I think really being a data-driven company is really around being deliberate about making that decision process about what data went into our models. I guess I would say companies are human by nature, right? I think the way we design corporations and the concept of a corporation today is essentially a human entity in many ways, right? And the concept that we're taking humans out of the corporation actually is pretty hard to do in reality. I see that as I start kind of go backwards to this concept of data. The knowledge pipeline, we call it, right? From data being distilled into information, being then driving knowledge, which then drives actions, right? Data, information, knowledge, actions. And that process, right, this is essentially what all companies do, and a lot of government, this is the reason for existence, is to taking a raw component and building it into an action. So data literacy, in my mind today, in the 21st century, in this data world that we live in, is understanding that pipeline, what it takes to take raw data all the way through to an action, right. And really how the action is fundamentally, at the end of the day, what's important. Even knowledge or information is you know, not the most important thing if you can't drive it through to action. Data that can't be put into action is pretty much unvaluable, rather. It makes the human aspect that much more important. So we think of the algorithm that's churning away on data being brainless or humanless, right? Heartless probably is the way to say it. But really, all the preparation work that went into just simply picking what data set to turn it loose on, right? What was the problem? What was the question asked originally, right? The question asked, these are the human aspects of which question do you ask initially, what data do you point it at, and the actual algorithm design itself. There's fundamental human aspects built into that, both negatively and positively. We can't take the human aspect out of it. And so the danger, I think, in many cases to an organization is assuming that the human aspect has been taken out of this process. And then almost a refusal to take responsibility, say, hey, this is what the machine told me, right? And so no, I think if anything, it's actually even more important for humans to be actively involved in the development process for the platform, the data that you want to put feed into this, right? So if you ask, say, age-old adage, if you ask a dumb question, you get a dumb answer, and so that goes to the data too, right? If you put bad data in and you ask a dumb question, you're going to get a dumb result. So that's, if anything, again, the human aspect is even more important now on setting things up right and getting the initial question right, the data set right, the algorithm designed right, without biases, or at least knowing where the biases are that are in there, because there's there's actually more social responsibility involved with machine learning and the humans that built these technologies and algorithms. So.